So even though it's coming to tax time and fuel tax credits is not specifically an end of financial year product, can be claimed at any point in time, we just thought we'd release something at the moment around fuel tax credits and have a bit of a chat. So today we're here with Darryl Daisley of Pitch Partners, who we work closely with to help us do our retrospective claims. And Darryl's a director of the business and an expert in indirect tax. So Darryl, just to give everyone a bit of an understanding of your background and how you got into indirect tax, can you just give us a bit of an explanation of that?
Yeah, thanks, Matt. Thanks for the opportunity. So I first came across excise, and in particular diesel fuel rebate, way back in the 80s and the 90s when I was a customs officer with the Australian Customs Service. So one of my last jobs in customs was in the diesel fuel rebate section of the excise business line. And then subsequent to that, everyone may be aware now that a diesel fuel rebate, everyone still calls it that, but it's been transferred across to the tax office. So I've been specialising in fuel tax credits effectively since 1999.
Great. So just for the viewers, can you give us a little understanding of what fuel tax credits are and who they might apply to?
Yeah, sure. So fuel tax credits, it's a federal government scheme and provides an opportunity for eligible businesses to reduce their business input costs around fuel. So in essence, those business entities that are using fuel in eligible activities, in eligible vehicles, plant and equipment, can in essence get a credit equal to the excise tax that they would be paying in respect to those fuel purchases. So at the moment, that's just over 42 cents a litre, which is the full rate, which is, that's a significant saving for business.
Yeah. What are some of those companies look like? Transport companies, mining quarries?
Yeah, so historically under the diesel fuel rebate scheme, it was limited to, fishing, forestry, agriculture. But now with the extension to the scheme since 2006, and then a further extension in 2008, most businesses now that consume fuel, so it's been really extended out to electricity generation, road transport operators, civil construction, so the building of highways, bridges and the like. And then obviously we've still got those predecessor industries such as mining, fishing, agriculture, forestry that can obtain the benefits as well.
Yeah. So in your experience, what are the major areas where people just have no idea that they're underclaiming?
Well, as you'd realise, given our relationship over the last couple of years, there's significant opportunities in the road transport space. And that's mainly because there's been a number of changes and expansions to the scheme. And not everyone is aware of those new opportunities in terms of what they've been doing from a normal business perspective, that now there are some additional credits available. And we're still coming across companies that aren't fully conversant with the expanded scheme.
Yeah. So what could be some examples like, auxiliary type of equipment or, mine sites?
Yeah, exactly. In the road transport sector, we've been doing a number of new assignments with yourself around sleeper cabs, around refrigerated units where they may have either separate or a shared fuel tank, and that gets a different rate to the road transport function per se. Other ones is mobile, ancillary, auxiliary type equipment used not on a public road. So that really expands out to activities around civil construction. It could be lay down yards, it could be workshops, and invariably it could be a lot of very, very small assets on large mine sites that get missed.
So if someone is not claiming correctly or they're underclaiming, how far back can they go?
Yeah, another good question. So under the relevant legislation, we've got an ability to go back 4 years. So if historically the client's not been claiming the maximum amount that they're allowed to claim, we can legally go back 4 years and basically recraft the numbers, identify additional fuel, craft a new fuel tax credit claim and lodge with the tax office for payment.
And that can amount to a fair bit of money.
Yeah, well definitely, when you're able to say to a client, all right, you may not be claiming much in a year, but when we go back over a 4 year period, that can suddenly amount to a very healthy additional fuel tax credit, which is real money. So it's not a journal entry.
Yep.
It's real money claimed on a BAS.
Yeah.
So some people might be thinking this just seems like it's too hard. What type of information do you ask a client for to help build up this retrospective claim?
Yeah, sure. I mean, the starting point is we have to ensure that we've got sufficient business records to substantiate any claim. And look, and that starts off with the acquisition around the fuel.
Yep.
So we've got to make sure we can cite and clearly understand how they've been acquiring fuel, and that they've got invoices showing that they've been paying and buying tax-paid fuel.
Yep.
Now, in terms of how they use that fuel and how it's recorded in the business, the ATO is pretty relaxed that you can really hopefully utilise normal business records that the business may retain. That's another starting point. But as you'd appreciate, we've seen the good, the bad and the indifferent around the quality of those records, but that doesn't mean that we can't pull together a robust claim that would withstand scrutiny from the ATO.
Yep. I know that on some of the transactions we've worked on, we've used like job sheets and things like that to help substantiate travel.
Yep, no, absolutely. So, you know, we've looked at manual records, you know, where they've been recording trip sheets, job sheets, disbursement notices, time at site type records, you know, even then looking at total kilometres travelled by an asset to understand, you know, quantum of fuel that particular vehicle's been using. So there's a few ways to provide, you know, a fair and reasonable method to come up with a half-decent claim.
Yeah. So we don't specifically need GPS data to go back and do a retrospective claim. We can base it on other methods and still submit a robust claim.
Yeah, so the historical ones, you know, given that the GPS and telemetric devices are of recent times, you know, if we go back 4 years, you know, we're still highly reliant on using data that might be recorded and captured on Excel spreadsheets, manual records and the like. So no, we don't need at this stage
manual ledgers.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, no, manual ledgers in one diary. So yeah, the nature of the retrospective claims is we generally, you know, but if we had access to the GPS data, we may use it. And you know, and we've had that recent example. But I think the way of the world around certainly road transport operators and potentially some other off-road activity, companies that you're currently in discussions with, the GPS data going forward is certainly another business record that can be used going forward. And the tax office had shown some sensitivity around GPS and telemetrics. But having said that, you know, depending on the nature and the quality of the data captured, that's definitely going to be an available record going forward.
So once we've got all this information together and you guys go away and you start pouring through it all, you know, what sort of time does it take for you guys to come back to the customer and go, here's what we, you know, suggest that you claim? Yeah,
I mean, it varies a little bit in terms of, you know, the size of the claim, the number of records that we've got to go and assess.
Quality of the data.
The quality of the data, definitely. But in the main, you know, our turnaround time is probably anywhere between 2 to 4 weeks once we've got complete information from the client. So that's not a long time.
No, not at all. So once you supply that information to the customer, how do they go about claiming that fuel tax credit rebate back from the ATO?
Yeah. So the basis is that the majority of these retrospective claims are on fuel that they've never claimed on before. So that gives us an ability to prepare a new claim and lodge it on the most recent BAS or your next BAS.
So they don't have to go back and do it on all their BAS?
No, correct. There's some special rules around it, but in the main, if there's been no errors or omissions, and we're really crafting a new claim based on either a misunderstanding, poor records, and you know, and they've not maximised their claims, that new retrospective claim, 9 times out of 10, we're able to go actually just lodge it on the next available BAS, whether that's a quarterly BAS or the monthly BAS.
So some of these amounts that are claimed back from the ATO are quite substantial. So do they ever get questioned by the ATO, and is there something that you provide to the customer to help them substantiate what they're claiming?
Yeah, sure. I mean, the large claims themselves, can be subject to desktop audits, but we generally don't have much fear about the desktop audits, mainly because the work that we do, we provide new worksheets, and we provide a claim that's based on a fair and reasonable method, and it's supported by a report which covers off the 4 main areas that the ATO would look at if it was ever audited, which is essentially acquisition, eligibility of the activities, claim methodology, and then claim construction. So on a desktop audit, ATO is going to ask you questions around those 4 areas.
Yep.
The report that we provide our clients covers off on those 4 areas, which we're more than comfortable with. If the tax office wants some additional information, the first port of call would be the provision of that report through to the tax office.
Very good. So today we've discussed opportunities around retrospective claims. In another video we're going to have a bit of a chat around the go forward opportunity and how that comes around. Darryl, thanks for your time today and explaining this very misunderstood part of the tax regime. If anyone thinks that they've got in their business or someone else's business, they're not doing fuel tax credits properly, I think they should get in contact immediately and I'm sure we can help them out.
Absolutely, Ben. I mean, this is an area that we deem value add. So as you'd appreciate, we're more than happy to have a coffee with anybody just to understand whether there may be an opportunity to go and get some additional money for the business.
Yeah.
Great. Thanks for the opportunity.